Hey guys, welcome back. So, the last video we talked about welding on our cage. We said we were going to try to remove this and do it out of the car. Well, we tried that and it didn't really work. It gets stuck. Even though it worked last time when we had one leg tacked, it ain't coming out now. So basically what we did, we welded both sides some to where it definitely wouldn't move, but we wanted to pull it out of the car to do the rest of the welding. We just couldn't get it. But what we discovered was that there was a way to contort this thing where you could lift one of the legs up pretty high. And that's plenty good enough because our whole point was just to gain access to weld it. So here's what we did. Not gonna lie, I'm perfectly happy with this. Doing overhead welding right next to another steel plate. That steel plate is only about 1.25 inches away from there to there. I'm zoomed way in. It looks like there's a lot of space, but here's my thumb for reference, you know. So there's really not a lot of room, but we got that weld bead all the way around. Hopefully this is showing up on video, but yeah, there she is. So very happy. We are now got to do the other side. So the setup on this takes a little while, just moving everything over, and I ended up using some cardboard and a big pile of coveralls to try to have a little bit of support where I can. And I use this thing, I put my pedal against that piece of wood to push on. So getting the setup right takes a while, but it's possible. One thing I am going to mention, I think I figured this out. So over here, I'm not sure, we may grind, I think I'm going to grind all this out again. I hate to say again, but that's the second time I welded that, and I mean, it just looks terrible. I did the best I could, but yeah, it looks awful. I think we're just going to grind all this out again. So for some reason on this side, I was not having any luck welding, which is so weird because it worked fine over there. So I ended up grinding it all out, changing tungsten, changing the cup, all kinds of stuff. And the second time I did it, no better. It got better as I got up on the top here, but on the side here, my arc just kept going this way. It was so weird. I think I figured it out. I haven't proven this, but I think I know what the problem was. Magnets. I had a pair of magnets right under this, and I think the magnetic field, this is a theory, but I think that magnetic field was literally grabbing my arc and just pulling it away, because all the arc wanted to do was go like that. It was so weird. So I think that's what we're going to do. See, this top section is not bad. That can stay. If you wire wheel that, that'll look pretty good, but this side stuff over here, not so much. So I guess we're going to grind that out, reposition this, well, some order of operations, but clean that up and then try welding this one, and hopefully it goes better. So that was something I didn't know. I never knew that would affect it, or I guess, or if I did know, I forgot, but I know now. And I think I've had that happen before and I just didn't know what was causing it. Now I might know what was causing it. So anyway, gonna try to get this one all set up and we'll get it welded, go from there. Alright, so we just finished welding these front tubes to the hoop, or the whatever you call this, and I showed y'all this side earlier, but very happy, turned out good. I'll show you the other side. As you can see, we still got this side kicked up, which, man, that made welding so much easier than it would have been on the floor. Still a pain to set up like that, not very comfortable, but nonetheless, here's this side. Not saying these are my best welds, but they're totally adequate. You can see I got the bottom of these. I'll zoom in a little so y'all can have a good laugh. There we go. Here's the bottom of that weld. And here's the bottom of that one. Sorry, hard to get in there, but that one looks pretty decent. So yeah, suckers are welded out. We are basically going to clean all this stuff out of the car because they're full of tools, and then we're going to vacuum that floorboard, and then we're going to, this thing's clamped, and then we're going to set it back down and get everything in the final position, because next we got 6 tubes to weld. I kept thinking it was 4, but it's 6. Obviously we got to weld this too, so got some metal to clean as well. Anyway, about to get rolling on all that. One thing I'll show you guys, just a quick little safety thing, but I've been doing this. When I have these things poking up like that, I throw like a glove over it, some rags, whatever, because you don't want to get poked or whatever. So, little safety thing. But yeah, man, cage is coming together. We can see the end. Alright, so we are putting this main hoop in for the final install. I want to show you guys a couple things. So the first one, over here on the passenger side, you can see we've got some tack welds to hold this plate down. We're going to come back and MIG weld all this to the floor eventually, but for now we're just taking it down. So a few things are important. This plate needs to be all the way up against this wall back here. So all the way back and all the way to this direction as well. So, and then it needs to be flat on the floor, like the floor, you know, I don't want it like this or like this, it needs to be flat. So let me show you how we're achieving this. Part of like what I do on this channel is showing people how to do things, or a way to do it, maybe not the best way, but a way to get it done. And my reality is this is my first cage. I've never done this. So everything is not perfect. This is not like a 10-minute YouTube video where you just finish it and magically it's all done. For me, that's not my reality. So I have to deal with stuff that's not quite perfect. Here's a perfect example. This plate over here, as you can see, looks perfect. It looks like it's all the way against that back wall, and it looks like it's up against this panel. But it wasn't. It was pulled back from that wall, and it had like a 1/4 inch gap on this side. So what I did was I sucked it up with some clamps. So this bottom, conveniently, I had a plate here. Now, but when this was natural, this only had, I couldn't even get 2 washers in here. So all I did was I stuck a screwdriver in here like this, and if you twist it, it's like a cam, and that creates leverage. Sorry, I don't know if that showed up on camera. But yeah, you put a screwdriver in here, if you twist it, it's like a camshaft, it creates leverage. I opened it up and threw some washers in there. So that got my plate pushed up against the wall that way. To pull it in this way, I didn't have anything over there to put, well, I guess I did. Well, that's not welded, so that wouldn't have worked. But what I do have is these openings, conveniently, and I just threw a clamp. I had to bear down on that pretty tight, but sure enough, I sucked it up against this wall. So now I've got this pinned exactly where I want it. The only other thing that it would be of significance is if this is vertical or not, which this ended up being, instead of like perfectly at 90, it's leaned back and it's like 89.2 or something. So we basically just put it back there because that's where we had it before. So here's our angle finder. This should say something close to 89.2. Yeah, pretty close. And all we did was we took this big ass clamp like this and just hooked it to the windshield and pulled on it. It's easy to move. All I have to do is push this, pretty easy. But that's what we did. I'm a one-man show. I can't hold all this stuff. I don't have anybody to like hold it for me while I do this. So that's what I did to get it in position. I'll show you another trick that I used on that side over there. It didn't turn out to be super necessary, but I was trying to get the plate down, like really down on the floor, perfectly flat. And so I took this steel. I had some metal laying around. It doesn't have to be steel, but you know, I just happened to have this. So I basically just stacked them vertically on that plate to kind of just put some force pushing down. I don't really need it over here. This is close enough that it's basically flat on the floor already. Like pushing on this doesn't really do anything. But anyway, those are some of the tricks that I've been doing to turn something that's, you know, not perfect into something that's going to do the job. So anyway, with that side tacked, we got our TIG welder set up. We're going to come over here and tack this one down to the floor and go from there. All right, so we're re-recording. We're about to knock off for the night. I'll keep this brief, but as you can see, we got clamps everywhere. We even have a ratchet strap in here, kind of pulling those two together. And we're just getting everything pretty close. So when we come back tomorrow, essentially we're going to start anchoring things down. So these front plates, the one that has a strap, if you look, that very front edge to the left lines up with the sheet metal. Whereas if you come over here, you'll note this one's too far forward. And you can also tell just by looking at the tack welds that that plate needs to go back some. I'm going to anchor those next because a few days ago, LOL, or at least a while back, when these plates were tacked where they were, all these tubes fit perfectly. So that's like a known location that hasn't moved. So those are going to get put back exactly where they go. And that way our tubes should all like line up, pretty much fall into position. So we're going to do that next. And then as you can see, we've got clamps like everywhere. So we can pull different tubes in different directions, try to get everything lined up just how we need it. So we'll be working on that next time. But yeah, it's going pretty good. We're at this point, once we get everything done, it's just these 6 welds. This one's cake, that one's cake, That bottom on the top's going to be easy. The bottom side, the top of that won't be bad. Bottom is a little bit, but it's not that bad. So we'll get those knocked out, and then this whole thing will be fully welded. Well, we got to do the plates to the car. But those are actually going to get MIG welded, so that's actually not that hard. So anyway, making good progress. Until next time, y'all take it easy. Hey guys, welcome back. Man, we have been working hard all day, and other than the 2 rear braces that go from the hoop straight back, cage is done. Okay, a couple asterisks. Got to do the braces. We're going to touch up a few spots, but she's in. Man, so much work. I'm not the best welder, so the TIG welds turned out pretty good. I ain't going to say they're perfect, but I'm happy with it. The MIG welding to this floor, I can MIG weld pretty well, but I'm not real good at welding to this body. I guess they have like coatings and paint and stuff on the backside, and man, they don't really turn out all that pretty. Here's a good example of, I don't even want to zoom in. They don't really look that great. They're in there, but we're going to go touch a few spots up. Some of it ain't all that pretty, but oh man, done finally. A lot of work. Don't really know what else to say, but there it is, cage, minus those rear braces. They're built, just got to put them in, no big deal. We'll do that after we do the tubs, and the tubs are next, or almost next. We're gonna, I guess I'll show you a quick spot. Here's pretty much the worst. Look at this garbage. So there's basically like little holes. This just did not want to weld. This had a giant gap because the sheet metal drops down, so there's just a gap here, and I was trying to fill it, and it didn't really turn out that great. And then back here, this is metal on top of metal, and there's some kind of coating under it, and it just blows holes in it real easy. So, don't know what you're supposed to do. I just did the best I could. Played with the settings, tried to find something that worked decent. Less heat, more wire, generally worked better. So, that's what we ended up with towards the end. But, nonetheless, that's what it is. It'll look better when I paint it. I think we're going to break out probably the TIG welder, and I'm going to try running a TIG over some of these ugly spots and see if I can pretty them up a little, just because they are kind of ugly. I want to see if I can make them a little better. But other than that, she's in. Some of these welds suck, some of them are difficult, but anyway, enough rambling. I'll have probably an update on the welds in a little bit.